Southern California, good evening and welcome to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. As you all know, my name is Teran Rodriguez and we have ourselves a jam-packed show. First and foremost, the Chargers finished their season on a high note, but at the cost of losing Anthony Lynn, or Anthony Lynn being dismissed at the end of the season. So the search is on for another new head coach, their second in 8 years. On the bright side, Justin Herbert broke a lot of records, and he almost broke the passing rookie yards record as well. As for the other Los Angeles team from the NFL, the Rams beat the Cardinals and are on to the postseason, where they'll face another NFC West team, the Seattle Seahawks, at CenturyLink Field. The Lakers and Clippers both had solid starts to the week, as they only dropped one game, but that one opponent just so happens to be a common loss to both those teams. Which opponent did the Lakers and Clippers lose to? And also we have some NCAA men's and women's basketball milestones from Southern California, as well as UCSD, LMU women's basketball, and USC men's basketball did something they haven't really done in a whole lot. And also, USC football lands the number one recruit in the nation. Can I get a fight on, Trojans? But seriously, USC football landing the number one recruit in the nation is absolutely huge. Who did they recruit, and what position are they going to be getting better at? All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope you all had a great week, and I hope everyone here is having a great rest of the day. Let me just say, I hope everyone also is safe. I know there's been a lot of craziness going on in the world, and it obviously has been a tough time for everybody, especially those living in the Washington area. I just gotta say this to everyone. Just do your best to try to be a good person. Don't be a jerk. Just, life is too short to be spreading hate and just not being unhappy. Like, just be a good person. Doesn't cost anything to be a good person. So just do your best to try to be a good person. And just respect those and respect everyone around you. I'm not going to try and go full political on this, but it's life. Again, life is too short, and we're only 8 days into 2021. We can't have 2021 being worse than 2020. So it's just my little friendly advice. Just be nice to everyone and just be kind. That's all I really ask. But enough about that. Let's get on into some unfortunate news that happened today. And this was news that I did not want to wake up to. Former Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda passed away earlier today. And he was I think he was 93 when he passed away. And he was like I said, he was a former Dodgers manager. He helped the Dodgers win the World Series back in 1986, and he's just an all-around likable guy, and it's just sad that he passed away, and it just goes to show you that 2020 and 2021 still show no mercy. So let's have ourselves a little bit of a moment of silence for Mr. Tommy Lasorda. Thank you. May you rest in everlasting peace, Tommy. Hope you're pitching a perfect game up in heaven. Alright, so enough about that, and let's go to some positive news, and let's get on into some SoCal action, shall we? But first, before we jump into the Southern California sports action, we have a sponsor for today. Our sponsor from IE Sports Radio is Legacy Financial. 2020 was indeed a tough year, and 2021 is also shaping up to being an also tough year. However, staying positive, keeping your faith, and continuing to work hard is the goal. If you're in a financial struggle at the moment and you need some help, call 951-732-0130 or 510-928-2104 to book your appointment today. Andrew and Io are just two people on a mission to help families build a legacy. You can follow them on Twitter at legacy_uncut, and you can follow them on Instagram at sims_uncut. Once again, that's Legacy Financial. Two people that are out to help you financially and put a smile on your face. Alright, now let's get into some Southern California sports action. We'll start with the Chargers. Okay, so let's start with a non-important team, the Chargers. Okay, so the Chargers closed out their nightmarish season on a positive note, beating the Kansas City Chiefs 38-21. However, that win kind of has a little bit of an asterisk because the Chiefs pretty much rested all of their stars pretty much. They did start a few people like Mecole Hardman and Willie Gay and DeAndre Baker, but for the most part, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire all were rested, and for good reason too. Like, there's no need for the Chiefs to run the risk of getting their star players injured, because you look at what happened with Clyde Edwards-Helaire back a couple weeks ago. He hurt his I think it was his ankle or his leg, and unfortunately he was out the rest of the regular season, but he should be back by the time the postseason rolls around, and the Chiefs do have a first-round bye, so I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a good chance of coming back in the postseason and hopefully helping the Chiefs repeat as champions. So there's that. So as for the Chargers, they end their season at a abysmal 7-9. However, they actually finished third in the AFC West, which actually isn't bad. Most people had them finishing dead last in the division, obviously because of inexperience at QB. They had injuries such as having Derwin James out. Drew Tranquill, another player, was out. Austin Eckler missed a chunk of the season. Keenan Allen missed the last two games in the game against New Orleans. So a lot of injuries here and there. And then obviously the Tyrod Taylor situation happened, which eventually led to Justin Herbert. The only bright spot of the 2020-2021 season. And also, let's not forget the one-score losses that the Chargers had too. So, But if you're looking at the glass half full, the Chargers did two up their win total, as last year they finished 5-11, and this year they finished 7-9, which isn't bad. And they didn't finish at the basement of the division, so that deserves some praisal. Okay, it's not that big. I mean, they still finished out. They still didn't have a playoff season, and they lost a bunch of one-score games. We can't forget about that. So, me as a Chargers fan, looking back at their season, they definitely improved, obviously, but a couple of their games didn't really mean much. The Falcons game didn't mean all that much, considering the Falcons were just as worse as the Chargers. The Chiefs sat out their starters. The only true-ish victories were the Raiders. The Raiders game was quite significant, even though the Raiders did have most of their players out, most of their defense out with COVID, and the Denver Broncos, in which Denver got decimated with injuries as well, and Drew Lock just couldn't flourish into an elite QB. He couldn't take that next best step, and that's also kind of the reason. Another reason why, because injuries as well for the Broncos, but at least the Chargers kind of got that little AFC monkey off their back, or their divisional monkey off their back, where they couldn't beat a divisional opponent to save their lives. Like, prior to the win against the Raiders, the Chargers had lost 9 in a row to divisional foes, which was completely unacceptable. So good on the Chargers for improving. Unfortunately for the Chargers, the day after their win against the Chiefs, they fired I'm not going to say fired. They relieved Anthony Lynn of his head coaching duties, and that was that. Anthony Lynn went 33-31 as the Chargers head coach in his 4-year span. He basically was the same. He was basically the same deal as Mike McCoy. Matter of fact, he's pretty much Mike McCoy, except he was slightly better. And I use the word slightly in bold letters, considering he was mainly conservative, and this team just didn't develop, and it's disappointing because I definitely think the Chargers have potential. They're too talented to only winning 7 games. This team right here could possibly be a playoff contender. They just got to get healthy. They got to continue to get the right coach. They got to continue to develop Justin Herbert. And they just got to get their mind right because the AFC West and the entire AFC goes through Andy Reid and the Chiefs. And the AFC as a whole is getting better. I mean, you look at the Chiefs, you look at the Buffalo Bills, who are a potential Super Bowl contender. You look at the Steelers, who kind of had a little dip later on the season, but they still have a stout defense, and Big Ben is still going at it. You look at the Titans, the Ravens, the Colts, the Browns, who have drastically improved. Yeah, and you also look at other non-playoff teams, such as the Dolphins. That team won 10 games, and they failed to make the postseason. The Raiders won 8 games and failed to make the postseason. The Patriots, obviously, we know what happened with them. They lost Tom Brady to free agency, tried to go with Cam Newton, but still no avail. But they could be back in the playoff spot, back in the playoffs sooner rather than later because of Bill Belichick. So the AFC as a whole is getting better and better. So the Chargers really got to hit on the bullseye when it comes to hiring their best head coach. They have interviewed quite a bit of coaches, or they've requested interview. They've interviewed coaches such as Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. They are slated to request an interview for Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers. They've also got an interview lined up with Robert Saleh this Saturday. Today they were supposed to interview Jason Garrett, the former Dallas Cowboys coach / New York Giants offensive coordinator. I don't see the Chargers hiring Jason Garrett. I know he has some upswing as he helped develop Dak Prescott, and he also led the Cowboys to some good seasons, and he also led them to NFC East championships. Oh, NFC East NFC East champions, the NFC East division. But he didn't really take the Cowboys too far. Granted, the Cowboys just were in a tough NFC in general, and they just didn't really get a whole lot of traction, whether the quarterback was Dak Prescott or Tony Romo, because when it comes postseason time, it's a whole different animal. So that's kind of my little spiel. I don't really see the Chargers hiring Jason Garrett. I hope they hire Brian Daboll. He would be the perfect fit for Justin Herbert, because you look at what he did with Josh Allen. Like, Josh Allen was kind of an average quarterback. He's had some upswing, but he just couldn't really get off the ground. But then Josh Allen eventually became a powerhouse quarterback, and he's probably an MVP candidate. So, same with Eric Bieniemy. He's done well wonders. Joe Brady also helped develop Cam Newton, turned him into a Super Bowl quarterback. Didn't win the Super Bowl, but he eventually got to the big dance. So there's that. And then And then the Chargers have also shown interest in getting Urban Meyer. I don't know if Urban Meyer is going to want to go to the Chargers at this point, but if they get Urban Meyer, that would be fantabulistic. And I think that would be really cool, and it would be fun. Maybe they can also get Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern. I just hope they don't go for Jason Garrett. I don't want to see Garrett as their head coach. I don't think Jason Garrett's a bad coach, but 8-8 just doesn't get you into the playoffs. I mean, you can ask the Raiders. But really, the AFC, like I said, the AFC is just drastically improving, and this is a division in conference that's not going anywhere, and that's going to be going through the Chiefs for Lord knows how many years. So the Chargers really got to hit on the bullseye when it comes to hiring their head coach. Otherwise, they will be basically in the same position as they have been the past 2 years, and then it's basically going to be Groundhog Day for them. And they just cannot afford to screw this up. Otherwise, it's gonna they're not gonna get anywhere better, and Herbert could eventually want out after his rookie contract. So there's that. Speaking of Justin Herbert, he, like I said, was the bright spot for the Chargers season. He basically broke a lot of records. He broke the rookie touchdown passing records with 31, having surpassed Baker Mayfield's record, which was 28. He also scored the most touchdowns as a rookie, surpassing Cam Newton's record of 35, as Herbert scored 36. He also had the most 300-yard passing games with 8. He also had 10 multi-touchdown passing games, which was also another record he broke. He had 3 touchdown passing. He had 6 3-touchdown passing games, and he was also, like I said, he also finished second in the passing yards record, falling 39 yards short of Andrew Luck's rookie passing yards record. And Justin Herbert threw for 4,336 yards, which that is actually top 10 in the NFL. He finished in the top 10. And keep in mind, this is the thing everyone needs to remember. Justin Herbert did not even play a full 16-game season. He played 15 games, and yet he broke all those records that I just mentioned, and he finished with 4,336 passing yards. He finished 6th behind Josh Allen, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson. He even finished ahead of Aaron freaking Rodgers and Russell Wilson. So that just goes to show you that if a lot of things could have gone better for Herbert, he could have actually had the passing yards record. If he had a better game against the Falcons, he would have had the passing yards record. If he had a much better game against the Patriots, he would have had the passing yards record. If the Dolphins' defense wasn't so stifling, he would have had the passing yards record. If he had passed more instead of Anthony Lynn forcing him to run the ball to Kalen Ballage and Austin Eckler the second go-around against the Denver Broncos, Herbert might have had the record. It's just disappointing that he was unable to get it, but there's no doubt in my mind Justin Herbert is Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I think he could be Rookie of the Year in general, the Pepsi Rookie of the Year. Oh, and he was also named the Rookie of the Week this past week, beating the likes of Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, and a couple others. So, yeah, I just don't see how he's not Rookie of the Week or Rookie of the Year, because he also was named Rookie of the Week the past 9 times, which is tied for the most with Ben Roethlisberger. So Justin Herbert is in really good standing when it comes to being a future Hall of Famer. It's just a matter of if the Chargers can keep him there. Like, if he can supply him with the best amount of talent. If they can get him a defense that can get the job done, so he doesn't have to play hero for like the 100th time. It's all about if the Chargers can get an offensive line which could help bail out Justin Herbert's butt and make sure he doesn't get sacked and whatnot. So that's again that's my little spiel on Justin Herbert, but the Chargers have a bright future ahead of them. There's no denying that. Again, it's all about if the Chargers can possibly supply him with that. If they could supply him with everything that he needs, because he definitely has the potential. It's just all about if he gets the correct weapons and the correct head coach involved. So we'll see how it goes for the Chargers. But again, this is a huge offseason for them. And then they also have some good cap space as well. And they have the 13th pick. I know the 13th pick isn't that great, but it could be good considering they could use that to draft an offensive lineman. And again, that's where the Chargers are hurting the most. Like they need an offensive line because Trey Turner and Brian Bulaga they were nowhere near healthy. And then maybe they can go defense, but they need the offensive line. Otherwise, Justin Herbert could experience the Joe Burrow effect, and they don't want, and the Chargers clearly do not want that. So we'll see if they can get the job done. I feel they can, because again, this is a potential playoff team, and if they play their cards right, they could, hence the words could, get a possible playoff spot and maybe even make the Super Bowl. So, and I've seen a lot of mock drafts, and there was one that had the Chargers taking Elijah Vieira Tucker from USC, which would basically be ideal for them. And he's from USC, so he wouldn't have to go far. So, yeah, Elijah Vera Tucker would be a great pick for the Chargers, as long as they get someone on the offensive line. If they get someone on defense, then I kind of don't understand that, because I know the Chargers defense was beaten up, but Derwin James will return. They've got Joey Bosa locked up. They have Chris Harris Jr. I expect them to re-sign Michael Davis, the cornerback, and they obviously and Denzel Perriman. I'm not so sure about Casey Hayward, but either way, I think if they don't go cornerback in this draft, then they're definitely keeping Casey Hayward and Chris Harris Jr. and Michael Davis. So there's that. I'm just looking at all of these mock drafts, and another decent pick for the Chargers in the first round would be Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. He's also an offensive lineman, and again, building their offensive line would be perfect for them. And I just saw these mock drafts from Fox Sports and CBS Sports. I'm looking at all these other mock drafts here on like NBC Sports. I'm looking at NBC Sports as we speak, and then there's this center named Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma, which I don't know. I mean, that actually would be it would be a good pick, because he's a center and he would definitely help the Chargers out on the offensive line. So definitely a good selection right there. And then the last mock draft I'm looking at is the WalterFootball.com mock draft, and scrolling down to number 13, the Chargers pick. This draft has also Elijah Vera Tucker. So, case in point, the Chargers need offensive line protection. Like, they've already got their defense pretty much solidified. Their only question mark is if they're going to be keeping Melvin Ingram, because Melvin Ingram has been banged up. He was put on IR twice, and he also is a restricted free agent. So unfortunately, that's kind of something you have to wonder if the Chargers are going to be bringing back as well. And like I said, they have Derwin James. Something I also noticed in that Chiefs game was that every Chargers defensive lineman was getting beat up. They had only 5 offense. It got to the point where the Chargers only had 5 offense or defensive backs left until they were completely depleted. Like it almost got to the point where they pretty much had to put Mike Williams at a defensive back, which would not have been a recipe for success. So yeah. But the main thing is that the Chargers need to get healthy. They need to get everyone squared away. Derwin James has made progress. He's getting gradually better by the week, and his return date was probably January, if not late February, which is perfect because I can't wait which is great because I can't wait to see him back on to the field because he's too talented to be hurt. So I hope he can stay healthy and whatnot because he is pivotal. I do not want to see Alohi Gilman at safety. It's nothing against Alohi and it's nothing against Notre Dame. It's just that I was the most skeptical of him from the previous draft. So, and then you also have to wonder if the Chargers are going to keep Jaleel Addae. So we'll see. Shout out to Marcus Losgreat in the chat room. Thank you for joining me, my brother. It is much appreciated. Just wrapping up some Chargers talk, which you probably don't care about. So in conclusion, I will say, despite all that went on with the Chargers, despite the one-score losses, despite the special teams ineptitude, despite all the injuries they were handed out like candy, despite all the turmoil that went on, the Chargers actually impressed. Like, they definitely proved a lot of people wrong. Like, some people had them finishing dead last, some people had them finishing in the 3-4 win mark, and they almost doubled that, and they surpassed their win-loss record from last year. So I think the Chargers' future is very bright. So we'll see if they can take that next best step next year. So that's pretty much going to be it for the Chargers. I won't be talking about them until they hire a new head coach. So Marcus says Chargers need to stop playing and make that Jason Garrett hire. I don't know. I don't know if Garrett's the right person. I mean, 8-8 is good, but in the AFC West, it's not great. So I know he developed Dak Prescott, and he has years of experience as a head coach. And like I said, he developed Dak Prescott, and he helped the Cowboys win the NFC East, but this is the NFC, or not the NFC, the AFC West, where it's a much more talented division. The only thing that's common about Jason Garrett coaching the Chargers would be that he'd get to face Andy Reid again. And he's had some success against Andy Reid. I think he beat him like 3 times out of a possible 6, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, though, so we'll see, though. I'd have to double-check that. So that's enough about the Chargers for a while. Again, I'll make note of them if they hire a head coach. I'll also make note if something happens, something good or bad. Probably when Justin Herbert wins the Rookie of the Year and Offensive Rookie of the Year award. So that's going to be some fun times. So let's stay on the football train, but this time we're going to go to the college football aspect. So USC football. Oh, good gracious. USC football actually landed a big-time 5-star recruit. They landed from Corona Centennial High School in beautiful Southern California. The number 1 recruit in the nation, defensive back, Korey Foreman. So yeah, that was absolutely amazing. I was hoping he would choose USC. He actually had the choice of Arizona State, Clemson, Georgia, and LSU, and I was scared. I was like, oh no. I'm like, oh no. I saw Clemson, and I'm like, oh, this might not end well. And then I saw LSU. I'm like, uh-oh. I didn't think he would pick Georgia, and I certainly didn't think he'd pick ASU, even though I like Herm Edwards. But I'm so glad Korey Foreman committed to USC, a 5-star, number 1 defensive back in the nation. Absolutely amazing. In addition, USC also got a 4-star cornerback, number 8 in the nation and number 6 in California. Sierra Wright from Loyola High School in Los Angeles, which is absolutely amazing. USC's defense continues to get better, and this is completely awesome. I could not be more happy for the Trojans getting not one but two talented defensive players, and it's really awesome because they're actually losing quite a bit to the NFL draft. They lost Talanoa Hufanga to the NFL draft, which is quite the bummer. They also, I guess, it's also good to note in other committing to the NFL draft news that Tyler Vaughns is making his way to the NFL draft. Amon-Ra St. Brown is also heading to the NFL draft. Marlon Tuipulotu is heading to the big draft. Elijah Griffin is also heading to the big draft. I made note of Elijah Griffin going to the draft last week, but I thought it was very questionable that he went for him to go to the draft, because most people don't really have him that high. They have him as a day 3 pick, but who knows? Maybe he'll prove all his doubters wrong. So there's that. And like I said, Talanoa Hufanga, USC's All-American, is declaring for the draft. Elijah Vera Tucker, who I was talking about as a possible first-round pick for the Chargers, is declaring for the draft. And yeah, it's definitely a sad time. It's a happy time and a sad time. It's great to see USC players declaring for the draft, but it's also very sad because I think it's because they didn't get their chance to win the Pac-12. This was definitely USC's best chance to win the Pac-12, and unfortunately they didn't get the season that they wanted, and they lost in the big game. Still think it was a little unfair that the Trojans had to play Oregon, but I think that USC could have. They definitely could have beaten Oregon, but it is what it is at this point. Speaking of Talanoa Hufanga, he is the consensus All-American, so that is awesome news right there, and he is definitely going to be. I could see him going in the first round, like first or second round, and he is definitely going to be boosting a team's defense. He might probably be better. He's probably like on par with Troy Polamalu, in my opinion, in my friendly opinion. Like I'm not trying to compare him, and I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. But that's just my opinion. So there's that. So that's the USC news. UCLA also landed a 4-star recruit. As I'm trying to find it, but I know everyone doesn't really care for the for UCLA as much as USC, but I just gotta definitely make note of him. I definitely do gotta make note of this, but yeah, UCLA landed a 4-star recruit or a 4-star commit to their program, and it was big news right there. So that here it is. I'm gonna butcher this guy's name. Tia Ola. Tia O'Ali Savea, a 4-star, 6'3", 265-pound strong side defensive end from Las Vegas, Nevada, and he chose UCLA over Arizona State, Auburn, and others. This was reported by Sports Pac-12 and also the Bruin News Report. So that's some good news for UCLA. They do return quite a bit of players from last year, such as DTR, and yes, Marcus, he is Samoan. So, yeah, well, that's big right there. Tiao Alai Savea is coming to UCLA. So that Pac-12 South is looking pretty strong, if you ask me. I think that the Pac-12 South could go between USC and UCLA. Arizona State is also up there as well, but But it all depends on what happens with their players and what's going to happen with COVID going forward. I still think USC should have won the Pac-12, but it doesn't matter at this point. What's done is done, and I can't change the past, unfortunately. So, but I definitely like USC's future going forward. They now have the number 8 recruiting class. They went all the way from number 14 all the way up to number 8. So they went from outside, just barely cracking the top 15 to inside the top 10. So good for you, USC. And the reason why Korey Foreman chose USC is because he liked the USC coaching staff, and he also, and it was close to home. So I was surprised that he said coaching staff. Maybe there's hope for Clay Helton after all. I just hope that the anti-Helton stands don't take that too personally. But I'm glad he is, Korey Foreman, staying close to home, and I had a feeling he would. I was just a little uneasy considering I saw Clemson and LSU, some of the past national champions, but I'm glad he made the correct decision to stay at home, and I'm glad he's going to be a USC Trojan for the next 3 to 4 years. And that USC defense is kind of looking pretty strong, if you ask me. And they also have that other player that transferred from Alabama. So USC's defense, while it was looking pretty iffy, it's now looking pretty promising despite all the departures. So that's pretty much that for the USC side, the USC and UCLA football side of things. And I guess we're actually going to jump to a little NHL. Well, I'm not going to talk too much NHL. I'm just going to say that the season starts next week. The Kings and the Ducks open their season the day after opening day. So I know the Kings play the Minnesota Wild while the Ducks play the Vegas Golden Knights, and it's going to be good times. I will be talking a little bit more hockey now that the season is pretty much almost here, and yeah, it's gonna be cool. And the Ducks play at Vegas on Thursday at 7 p.m. while the Wild play the Kings at Staples Center on Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time as well. So there's that, and I'm pretty excited for the NHL to come back. So that's pretty much all your NHL news. I haven't heard too much. Everyone was unfortunately mourning the loss of Tommy Lasorda, not Lastello. Tommy Lasorda, and yeah. So we're actually going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, I will be talking some NCAA men's and women's basketball. Then I'll also be talking some Lakers-Clippers action. And then we'll close the show by talking some LA Rams football as they prepare for their wild card game against the Seattle Seahawks. So you're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
And you can tune in to 3 and Out and all of our amazing shows here on IE Sports Radio. Speaking of 3 and Out, the NFL postseason is here, and 3 and Out is going to be in full effect starting tomorrow. So tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the first primetime face-off between the Indianapolis Colts and the Buffalo Bills will be happening at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern. And then at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the second primetime face-off between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe I'll be on that one, maybe not. It all depends. And then on Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the third primetime face-off between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington Football Team. And We don't know, and we don't know who any of those will be, who the representatives will be for any of those teams. So then we have Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. 3 and Out returns with another primetime face-off, as the Baltimore Ravens will be facing off against the Tennessee Titans. One fan from each fan base will be representing both of those teams. And then at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, it'll be the primetime face-off between the Chicago Bears and the New Orleans Saints. One fan from each of those fan bases will be able to represent their team and debate with one another. And then closing off the primetime face-offs at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the primetime face-off regarding the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's going to be a fun time. And I'm willing to bet anything that Andrew Hagenbaugh will be representing the Cleveland Browns. I'm willing to put my money on it. So, shout out to Pierre Moss for joining us in the chat room. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. So, Pierre Moss actually did his show yesterday, the show that never sleeps. He had to ride solo, but he did an outstanding job talking about college basketball, the NBA, the NFL, etc., everything New York sports. The show that never sleeps will be back on its regularly scheduled time on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So definitely tune in for that with Harrison Glaser and Pierre Moss. Those two do an outstanding job when it comes to New York sports, so definitely tune in for that show. All right, so now let's get into the second little segment of the show, and we'll go to the NBA this time. So, NBA action between the Lakers and regarding the Lakers and the Clippers. So the Lakers had their little road trip last week. They beat the San Antonio Spurs 109-103. And then this past Sunday, they beat the Memphis Grizzlies 108-94. And then this past Tuesday, the Lakers beat the Grizzlies 94-92, barely getting a win off in the Bluff City. Unfortunately, the Lakers' 4-game winning streak after their 4-game road trip came to an end as the San Antonio Spurs beat the Los Angeles Lakers 118-109. LeBron did his thing, as always. I was a little irked that the Lakers lost last night because they got off to such a sluggish start, and they allowed an 8-0 run, and they never led at one point, and they just were super sloppy against the Spurs. I know the Lakers can beat the Spurs considering they've beaten them the past 2 times last week. So it must be one of those any given night situations, kind of like the NFL with the any given Sunday. Regardless, it's still early in the season, and the Lakers don't have much to worry about. I think they're still having a pretty good season. They're 6-3 as of right now, and they're still in the top 3 of the Western Conference, which is always a good thing because the West is always so tough. So I think the Lakers will be fine, and I don't think anyone should be hitting the panic button just yet. Hence the words just yet, but I think they'll be fine going forward. So Lakers tonight play the Chicago Bulls at Staples Center, looking to get back into the win column. This coming Sunday, the Lakers play at Houston against the Houston Rockets. They have a 2-game road trip against the Rockets as they play the Rockets on Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern, and then they play the Houston Rockets again on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. The Rockets have been iffy this year. They haven't been as good, obviously, with their whole roster being blown up and James Harden having doubts of staying with the team, but the Rockets are always a run-and-gun team. The only thing that we won't be seeing is the small ball lineup because the Rockets got rid of Mike D'Antoni, which was wise on their part. So there's that. Also next week, the Lakers are playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's going to be at Oklahoma City. The game will be played at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be on Wednesday. And then next Friday, the Lakers will play the New Orleans Pelicans at Staples Center. They'll get to welcome back Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and many of the other players they might have traded for in the Anthony Davis trade. A trade that which the Lakers won, of course. So, looking at the Lakers' 4-game schedule from now until next week, well, by the time I come on here, meaning I'm not going to count the Lakers-Pelicans, Lakers could probably go 3-1. I could see it happening. I think they get back on track and they beat the Bulls. The Rockets shouldn't be too much trouble. My only fear would probably be the Rockets the second time or the Thunder because the Lakers would have to go from Texas to Oklahoma City. So that's kind of my fear for the Lakers. And I think that could be the Achilles heel, having to travel from one city to another on back-to-back nights. But you never know with the Lakers. Maybe the Lakers are fans of that because they didn't really get the proper rest they had after they won the Larry O'Brien championship. But a little adversity never hurts anybody. Like I think, again, these games are early in the season, and once the season gets to its climax and once the season gets to April or March, then the Lakers need to start taking their game seriously. I still think the Lakers can be the top seed, and I still think the Western Conference goes through the Lakers. But you look at how good the Western Conference has improved. As of right now, Phoenix has definitely improved. They've drastically improved because of Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, and many others as well. The Clippers are still up there. But other than the Suns, Clippers, and Lakers, it's kind of a logjam for the 4th through 8th spot. The Jazz, Pelicans, Warriors, Trailblazers, Kings, Mavericks, and Spurs are all 4-4, with Oklahoma City being 3-4, and then Denver is 3-5. They're kind of off to a little bit of a rocky start. Houston actually had some of their games canceled or postponed due to COVID concerns. The Timberwolves lost Karl Anthony Towns, and then the Grizzlies have been hit by the injury bug. So the good news is for the NBA is that there will not be a team going 0-72 or 72-0. There's no winless teams and there's no undefeated teams. So there's that. But looking at the Eastern Conference, the 76ers, the Magic, and the Pacers have drastically improved. And so same with the Knicks. The Knicks, everyone thought the Knicks were pretty much going to finish dead last in the Atlantic Division. No offense, Pierre, if you're still listening. But the Knicks have, for the time being, have turned it on. There's still plenty of season to go, might I add. But I think there's, it's kind of interesting to see how these teams will fare going forward. I know the Magic just lost Markelle Fultz to, I think it was a torn ACL, and then the Brooklyn Nets had Kyrie Irving not dress up because he didn't feel like playing, which could have some trouble in paradise. And then Kevin Durant was also had complications of COVID, and he sat out. Seth Curry is also going to have to sit out because of COVID complications, along with some other 76ers. So we'll have to wait and see. The Lakers did get back Alex Caruso, who apparently came into contact with players, with someone that had COVID. He made his return last night against the Spurs, and like I said, the Lakers lost that game. The Lakers just shuffled in a new lineup, which they went 2-0 in before they lost last night. One player that is out for the Lakers is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who rolled his ankle. I believe it was against one of the games against the Grizzlies, and that really hurts the Lakers in terms of offensive depth, because he definitely is one of their more improved players. He was once a liability. Now he's an asset to the Lakers, and even though he kind of got thrown a little too much money, I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has done a great job for the Lakers as of right now and as of last year. So I think he's going to be good going forward. And once he gets back into the gym, the Lakers shouldn't have too many problems. And we haven't really heard too much of LeBron's injury, his ankle injury. Maybe it's fully healed, but I'm not sure. So we'll have to wait and see. The more days off the Lakers get, the more they'll be able to lick their wounds and rejuvenate themselves. So we'll see. But for right now, the Lakers sit in second place in the Western Conference. Oh, they're tied for second place behind the Los Angeles Clippers, who, perfect segue to get into, because that's what I'm going to be talking about now. So last week, the Clippers lost to the Utah Jazz 106-100. Unfortunately, the Clippers couldn't break Ralph Lawler's law. If you know who that is, then you get bonus points. But the Jazz beat the Clippers 106-100. The Clippers did pull off an impressive victory this past Sunday against the Phoenix Suns, winning 112-107. Just like the Lakers, the Clippers lost to the Spurs 116-113. I want to say that the Clippers were leading at some point, and then they allowed the Spurs to come back. I mean, the Spurs are still well coached by Greg Popovich. As long as he doesn't get ejected, the Spurs are still a somewhat respectable team, and they want to start. They still have a bad taste in their mouth when it comes to not making the playoffs for the first time since the pre-Tim Duncan era. So there's that too. So this past Wednesday, the Clippers defeated the Golden State Warriors 108-101, and that's actually a good segue for tonight, as the Clippers play the Golden State Warriors tonight at 7 p.m., and that's going to be televised nationally on ESPN, and it's going to be at the Oracle Arena, or whatever Golden State's gym is called. It's going to be in Oakland. That's what it is. We'll leave it at that. So the Clippers play the Warriors tonight at Golden State at 7 p.m. Then Sunday, the Clippers play Chicago at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Then this coming Wednesday, the Clippers play the New Orleans Pelicans at 7 p.m. That's also going to be on ESPN. And then next Friday, the Clippers go back up to NorCal to face the Sacramento Kings at 7 p.m. as well. The Kings have also kind of vastly improved, but again, it's still early in the season. And the Clippers have had some good, they've gotten some good games from Kawhi Leonard, even though he has the mask on. And I think the Clippers are still load managing Kawhi. They haven't been losing by much. You look at the Clippers' losses. They only lost by 6 to the Jazz. They only lost by 3 to the Spurs. And then they had that nightmarish game against the Mavericks, losing 124 to 73. I don't know what happened. But other than the Mavericks loss, they haven't had too many bad losses. The Lakers kind of had that bad loss on opening night to the Clippers, but I feel that kind of I feel the opening night where the Lakers got their rings against the Clippers kind of gave the Clippers more bulletin board material. And then the Lakers obviously lost to the Spurs last night. And then I forget who the Lakers' other loss was to. It was to the Spurs, the Clippers, and the Trailblazers. That game, the Trailblazers, where they blew their third quarter lead. They led by 1, and then for the first time in 60 games, they lost after they led after the third quarter. So our LA teams in Southern California are doing well, and if everything goes well, then those two will probably be on top of the Western Conference, depending on how they figure out their team going forward. I definitely think the Lakers, the Lakers are still trying to figure themselves out, but the Clippers are also figuring themselves out as well. I think they've put last year behind. They've thrown away Doc Rivers' system. They've gone with Ty Lue's system, so I think the Clippers have moved on from last year. So there's that. So that's pretty much going to be it for the NBA side of things. Now let's go into the NCAA men's and women's basketball side of things. There were a lot of milestones that happened this past week. I don't know if I talked about them last week, but UC San Diego's women's basketball team won their first ever Division I game against Cal Poly. They won, I believe it was 84 to 73, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, the Tritons actually got hammered by Cal Poly by 32 the previous night. So there was that. And then also, so that was one monument. And that was definitely a great moment for UC San Diego winning their first ever Division I game. Because for those that don't know, UC San Diego was actually a Division II school for majority of their existence until they were revived as a Division I team and brought into the Big West Conference. So there's that. I also want to make note of LMU's women's basketball coach earning her 100th victory for the Lions, which was definitely a big accomplishment for her. Charity Elliott won her 100th game this past week, and that's quite nice, because I don't really talk a whole lot about LMU, because I'm not going to try to be disrespectful, but LMU isn't really the most well-known team in Southern California, especially when they play in the West Coast Conference, which has dominant teams like Gonzaga. And LMU hasn't really had a great season. They're 3-7 overall, but they can at least hang their hat that they helped their coach win her 100th game. So big ups to Charity Elliott. And then the other most important news is that USC's men's basketball team won at the McHale Center not McHale Center in Tucson, Arizona against Arizona last night, 87-73, which marked the first time since February 28th, 2008, where the Trojans last beat the Wildcats. And it's only the second time in the span of 49 years that the Trojans have won at Tucson. So that's huge. That's another huge monument right there. And then the last one, and I promise this is the last one, UCLA men's basketball is 4-0 in conference play, which I'll be getting into in a little bit, for the first time since the 2012-2013 season. So that's huge right there for UCLA. UCLA, under Mike Cronin, has done an amazing job. They had high expectations starting out, and then they kind of fell off the wagon when they lost to San Diego State. But that's more so of San Diego State having such a talented team than UCLA just stinking up the joint. So there's that right there. So now let's get into some NCAA men's and women's scores. We'll start on the women's side. I started with the men's side last week, but this time I'm going to start on the women's side. So scores for today, we have Long Beach State beating Cal State Fullerton 69-50 tonight. Long Beach State is currently undefeated in Big West play, and I hate to sound like a homer, but yes! I'm sorry to if I'm showing my bias, but it's always good when Long Beach beats Fullerton. No offense to my Fullerton friends, of course. So Long Beach State is 6-1 overall, and they are 5-0 in 5-0 in Big West Conference play. Fullerton, on the other hand, has had themselves quite a unforgettable season, as they are now 0-6 overall, which really sucks for the Titans, or the Lady Titans. And some of their games have been canceled, like their games against Northridge and their game against Pepperdine got canceled as well. And then their game against UCLA was postponed, which UCLA pretty much doubled up on them, and we're not going to talk about that. So that's pretty much that for Long Beach State and Fullerton. Cal Baptist is still undefeated on the women's side, as they beat Utah Valley 98-69. Cal Baptist is 9-0, which is really impressive. And also, it's also worth noting that UC San Diego actually gave Cal Baptist a run for their money. Unfortunately, a player from one of the teams, I don't know who, and I'm not going to guess, but a player from one of the teams tested positive for COVID-19, or one of the test results was indecisive, so they decided to call the game late into the second quarter, and the two teams had to cancel that game or postpone it. And it would have been funny if that game actually went down as a win for UC San Diego. But unfortunately it didn't. That game is now postponed or canceled or whatever it is. So regardless, Cal Baptist is still 9-0 and they're undefeated, which is really good. So good for you, Cal Baptist. As my boy Larry B once said, Lance up! So other games that are supposed to be happening right now, Utah at USC is supposed to be happening right now. Colorado at UCLA has been postponed. Bakersfield at Cal Poly is postponed. UC San Diego at Northridge is postponed. And that's it. So Thursday, we had San Diego State beating Nevada 59-43. Loyola Marymount lost to BYU 71-57. And that was that on the women's side in terms of yesterday's games. Wednesday's games, we did not have any games regarding Wednesday. Tuesday, we didn't have any games regarding Southern California NCAA women's basketball. Monday, we had Loyola Marymount beating San Francisco 72-55, which was awesome sauce. But you want to know what else was awesome sauce? San Diego taking down BYU 58-56. Now that was an impressive victory, considering BYU had only lost one game going into that game, and the fact that San Diego took them down at the J.C. Penney Center is quite amazing. So good for you, San Diego. That's very awesome. That's very cool, and we're happy for you. And then Pepperdine Santa Clara got postponed, and looking at Tuesday's games and Wednesday's games, there were no games that were postponed or canceled or whatnot. So in terms of Tuesday and Wednesday, so there's that. This past Sunday, we had UCLA pulling off the big upset against number 8 Oregon, beating them 73-71. I can't believe I forgot about that game, but then again, Week 17 was just so important because football is unfortunately king. And I use the term unfortunately loosely because, well, football is a gift and a curse, honestly. But I digress. So, just checking if there's any other scores. That USC Oregon State got postponed, due most likely to COVID concerns. And that was that. That was that for Sunday's games. So, in terms of Saturday, we had, like I said, we had UC San Diego taking down Cal Poly 74-63. The first ever Division I win for UC San Diego's women's basketball team. Long Beach State also beat Cal State Bakersfield 68-59. We had UC Santa Barbara getting their second victory of the year, beating Cal State Fullerton 79-60. We had LMU taking down Santa Clara 66-57, which was also awesome as well. And those are that for the scores. We had, in terms of postponed games, San Diego State and UNLV postponed. We had UC Riverside versus UC Davis canceled. We had Cal State Northridge at UC Irvine canceled. We had Pepperdine at San Francisco canceled as well, which rounds up the Southern California women's basketball games. So last Friday, which kicked off the new year, USC got trounced by number 8 Oregon 92-69. Cal Poly slammed UC San Diego 90-68. Long Beach State eked out a win over Cal State Bakersfield 61-57. UC Santa Barbara earned their first victory of the season, beating Cal State Fullerton 83-54. And those were that for the women's basketball scores. UC Riverside versus UC Davis was canceled. Cal State Northridge at UC Irvine was canceled. UCLA at Oregon State was canceled as well. And that rounds up all the women's basketball games from now all the way back to last week. So let's look at the standings for the Pac-12 women's basketball standings. We have Stanford at 7-0, while Arizona is 6-1. Washington State is 4-1. Oregon is 6-2. UCLA is 4-2. Utah is 3-4. Arizona State is 2-4. Colorado is 2-4. Oregon State is 1-3. Washington is 1-5. USC is 1-5, and poor Cal is rounding up the bottom at 0-6. In terms of overall records, UCLA is 6-2, while USC is 3-5. Poor Trojans. It only gets better. I'm just going to say that right now. So there's that. Let's go to the Big West Conference. So the Big West Conference is obviously led by Long Beach State at now 5-0 because they just beat Cal State Fullerton tonight. Long Beach State is the only undefeated team in that conference, which is absolutely amazing. I hate to show my fansmanship as a Long Beach State student, but it's just so amazing to see that team actually doing well. I know they have plenty of games left, but it is great to finally see Long Beach State having success in something that's not named men's volleyball. I'm just saying. Anyway, other conference records we have. So behind Long Beach State is UC Irvine at 2-1. Cal Poly is 1-1. Santa Barbara is 2-2. UC San Diego is 1-1. UC Riverside is 1-2. UC Davis, Cal State Northridge, and Hawaii haven't even played a conference game, while Davis is 1-0 overall. Cal State Bakersfield is 0-2, and Fullerton rounds up the bottom as well at 0-2. In terms of overall records, Long Beach State is 6-1, UC Irvine is 4-5, Cal Poly is 5-3, UC Santa Barbara is 2-6, UC San Diego is 1-1, UC Riverside is 2-4, Cal State Northridge has yet to play a game. Cal State Bakersfield is 1-4, and Cal State Fullerton is 0-6. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to all the Titans fans, but again, it only gets better from here on out. Don't hate me; just hate the fact that this year has been an unfortunate year, and it really sucks. So now on to the West Coast Conference in terms of women's basketball. Gonzaga leads the conference at 4-0. Portland is 3-0. BYU is 3-1. San Diego is 2-1. Pacific is 2-1. Santa Clara is 2-2. Loyola Marymount is 2-3. Pepperdine is 0-2. San Francisco is 0-4, and St. Mary's is 0-4 as well. In terms of overall records, San Diego is 5-3, Pepperdine is 3-3, and LMU is 3-7. So I'm just going to include the Southern California overall wins and losses, just because this is the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. So that's that for the women's basketball scores. Once again, I am happy that Long Beach State is still undefeated in terms of Big West Conference play. It's definitely a good thing to see, because they actually had a game where they almost won. Now, their only loss was to USC, which that's Pac-12 material right there. Like, if a Big West team beats a Pac-12 team, then the world is going to end. Hence, UC Riverside beating Washington on the men's side, which is actually perfect segue to go to in terms of NCAA men's basketball. So, in terms of NCAA men's basketball that's going on right now regarding Southern California, we have Long Beach State leading Cal State Fullerton 61-48 at the Titan Center, aka Fullerton, whatever you like to call it. UC Riverside barely lost to Hawaii 88-83, which was disappointing, but it's okay. At least you beat Washington. I'm just kidding. That's a little D-bag-ish. Anyway, Cal Poly and Bakersfield play one another tonight at 7 p.m. UC Irvine at UC San Diego is postponed, and that's that. The reason why UC Irvine is postponed is because a student-athlete at UC San Diego contracted COVID-19 symptoms, and the program just said, you know what, we're not going to chance it. So that's some good caution on their part, and I send my condolences to UC San Diego. Fun fact about UC San Diego's men's basketball team: they are the only undefeated team in California. Well, in Southern California, at least. But their only two wins are against St. Catherine, which is an NAIA school. So if UC San Diego does not play this weekend against UC Irvine, UC San Diego was supposed to play UC Santa Barbara, but then COVID complications happened in the Gauchos program or whatnot, and unfortunately the Gauchos had to be switched with the Anteaters. But unfortunately, what happened with the Tritons program unfortunately has the game postponed for tonight. We don't know about tomorrow, so we'll see. San Diego does play next week's. UC San Diego plays UC Davis at the Rimac Center, and then the week after, UC San Diego plays Long Beach State at the Pyramid, and hopefully I can go to that game, but if not, I don't care. If I actually went to that game, then I'd have to postpone this show. So, decisions! Yay! Anyway, other NCAA men's basketball scores from this past week. Like I said, yesterday we had USC taking down Arizona 87-73. First win at the McHale Center for the Trojans since 2008. Only their second win in the past 49-ish years. I want to say it's 49 years. Anyway, we have San Diego State squeaking by Nevada 65-60. UCLA edged Arizona State on the road in overtime 81-75. Other scores from last night: San Diego versus St. Mary got postponed because of San Diego having a COVID outbreak in their program. We send our condolences to them. So there's that. In terms of Wednesday, we did not we did not have any Southern California teams on the men's side playing in any basketball games. And then the same can be said for Tuesday, because Wednesdays and Tuesdays are just not ideal for any of those Pac-12, West Coast Conference, and Big West Conference schools. On Monday, we had San Diego State beating Colorado State 78-65. They actually held a lead against the Rams this time around. And you're going to see what I mean about that. You'll see what I mean. And that was the only score that happened this past week. This past Sunday, there were no scores. There were no Southern California teams that played against one another. UC Riverside was supposed to play New Mexico State, but unfortunately it got postponed, and that was the only Southern California game that was supposed to happen in terms of NCAA men's basketball. So this past Saturday, this is going to be fun. Everybody, pull up a chair and listen in. So we had USC beating Utah 64-46 on the passing of Paul Westphal, which I'm glad USC won, because if not, then Trojans fans would have rioted. I'm just kidding. We had Bakersfield beating Long Beach State 89-76, which I think that was the first ever Big West Conference win for the Roadrunners, and if so, that is cool. Yes, it was. It was the first ever Big West Conference win for Cal State Bakersfield, because Cal State Bakersfield just joined the Big West Conference this year, so there's that. We had UCLA edging Colorado 65-62. UC Santa Barbara beat Fullerton 65-61. And now for this Southern California men's basketball score. Everybody, guys, listen. Men, women, children, cats, dogs, listen here. San Diego State, which led by, I think it was 26 at one point, lost to Colorado State 70-67. I cannot believe what I just said. San Diego State they blew a 26-point lead and lost to Colorado State 70-67. What? You're supposed to be this talented Mountain West Conference men's basketball team, and you blew a 20-plus point lead to Colorado State. This is basically the Chargers versus the Broncos all over again from this year. That is the biggest kick to the McNuggets I've ever seen. How could you do this, San Diego State? Like, you can't you can't do that. Oh, San Diego State. I just was like, a picture says 1,000 words, but this picture that I posted on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show account basically describes what it was like being a San Diego State men's basketball fan. It was basically the equivalent of being a Chargers fan. Absolute, incandescent, the worst way to start a new year. San Diego State should be ashamed of themselves. And then, in terms of postponed games, Loyola Marymount and Santa Clara got postponed. UC Riverside, New Mexico State got canceled. UC San Diego at Cal Poly got postponed. UC Irvine at Cal State Northridge got canceled. Pepperdine at St. Mary's got canceled. And BYU at San Diego also got canceled as well because of the contraction regarding the Toreros program. So there was that. So last Friday we had Long Beach State edging out Cal State Bakersfield 90-89. Woo! Overtime thriller. We had UC Santa Barbara beating Cal State Fullerton 81-63, and that was that in terms of Southern California men's basketball scores, as UC San Diego at Cal Poly was postponed, UC Riverside at UC Davis was postponed, UC Riverside at UC Davis was canceled, UC Irvine at Cal State Northridge was canceled, and that was that from all the scores from now all the way from back to last Friday. So let's look at the standings right now in the Big West Conference in terms of men's basketball. So not a lot of movement going on in terms of Big West Conference games. We have UC Irvine in first place at 2-0, while Hawaii is 1-0. UC Santa Barbara is 2-2. Bakersfield is 1-1. UC San Diego hasn't even played a conference game yet. Long Beach State is 1-1. UC Davis, Cal State Northridge, and Cal Poly all haven't even played a conference game. UC Riverside is 0-1, and Cal State Fullerton is 0-2. In terms of overall record, Irvine is 5-4, Santa Barbara is 6-3, Bakersfield is 5-4, UC San Diego is 2-0, Long Beach State is 2-3, Northridge is 4-3, Cal Poly is 2-4, UC Riverside is 3-2, and Fullerton is 1-2. Like I said, UC San Diego is the only undefeated team in Southern California. And congratulations to the Tritons. I can't wait to see if you possibly play UC Irvine. We'll see if the Anteaters can fix that record. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm just saying. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word dick, but whatever. I said it right now, so I digress. So anyway, now let's go into the Pac-12. So the Pac-12 is led by UCLA at 4-0. Oregon, which just lost yesterday to Colorado, is 3-1. Stanford is 3-1. USC is 2-1. Washington State is 2-1. Arizona is 3-2. Colorado is 2-2. Arizona State is 1-1. Utah is 1-2. Oregon State is 1-2. Washington State is 0-4. And Cal is 0-5. In terms of overall records, UCLA is 8-2, while USC is 7-2. Not bad, honestly. It's pretty darn good, if you ask me. So that's that for the Pac-12. In terms of the Mountain West Conference, we have San Diego State at 2-1, while their overall record is 8-2. I kind of forgot their women's basketball team. I'll go back in a little bit about that. But so far, San Diego State, despite their losses to Colorado State and to BYU, they're still having a pretty good year. So we can't really fault them all that much. So my thingy just crashed. My ESPN app, unfortunately, just crashed. So, going back to the scores of the NCAA men's basketball games, and to pretty much recapping all the. And let's jump to the West Coast Conference, because again, my ESPN app just crashed, unfortunately. So West Coast Conference hasn't really had much traction in terms of games being played. Number one Gonzaga in the nation is 2-0. San Francisco is 2-1. St. Mary's, Pacific, Santa Clara, LMU, and Pepperdine all haven't even played a game. BYU is 0-1. Portland is 0-1, and San Diego is 0-1. In terms of overall records, we have LMU at 5-3, or Loyola Marymount. Pepperdine is 4-5, and poor San Diego is 1-4 because they haven't been able to play a whole lot this season. So there's that in terms of all the NCAA men's basketball. The NCAA men's basketball scores, and looking at San Diego State in terms of the women's, they are 3-6 overall, and they are 1-2 in Mountain West Conference play. They actually play Nevada tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific time. They just beat Nevada yesterday, 59-43. I don't know how I missed that, but it is what it is. Their game against UNLV got postponed, which is sad face, but it is what it is. And both their games against UNLV got postponed, and then they also lost to the likes of Cal Poly and UC Irvine. They also lost to Colorado State in overtime, and they lost to Colorado State the first time by 9. At least they beat San Diego in their annual crosstown rivalry, but it's been a little bit of a rough year for the Lady Aztecs, so there's that. So that's pretty much that for the NCAA men's and women's basketball side of things. I know I kind of had to go hyperspeed, but now let's get into the final thing we'll be talking about, and then I shall let you all go and prepare for the next show going that's going to be coming on in about 35 minutes. Now let's talk some Rams football. So the Rams, despite not having Jared Goff and Cooper Kupp, Andrew Whitworth, etc., they beat the Arizona Cardinals 18-7 and managed to make the postseason. So let's give them a round of applause. Even if the Rams had lost, they would have made the postseason anyway, as the Chicago Bears lost to the Green Bay Packers. Fortunately for the Bears, the Rams were able to beat the Cardinals and keep the Cardinals out of the postseason, which is kind of disappointing. The Cardinals actually I think they were 6-3 at the halfway point. I think ever since the Hail Murray, and then they went 2-5 to finish the season 8-8 and out of the playoffs. So, unfortunately for the Cardinals, they are out of the postseason again, and it really sucks because I thought the Cardinals were turning the corner, but unfortunately not. So sorry, Cards fans. I hate to see it happen, but it is what it is. I also definitely got to give a salute to Larry Fitzgerald. There have been murmurs that he is retiring, and if he is retiring, then I definitely want to wish him the best in retirement. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. It really sucks that he was unable to win a Super Bowl with the Cardinals, but the fact that he stayed with the Cardinals all those years is absolutely amazing. So here's a little tip of the cap to you, Mr. Fitzgerald, and here's hoping retirement treats you well. So once again, big ups to Larry Fitzgerald. Congratulations on a great career, and I raised this water bottle in your honor. Anyway, so now back to the Rams. So the Rams have made the postseason. They are the 6th seed going up against the Seattle Seahawks. So the last time the Seahawks and the Rams played one another, the Seahawks won an ugly yet exclamating fashion as they won, I think it was 20-9, I want to say. Yes, it was 20-9. I'm actually proud of myself for getting that correct. So yeah, the Seahawks beat the Rams 20-9. This was the week after the Rams lost to the New York Jets. That was what pretty much punched the hole in the Rams' boat of possibly getting the AFC West or NFC West crown. So, regardless, the Rams are still in the playoffs, and they get to play the Seahawks. This isn't the worst thing that could happen, but here's the thing about the Seahawks. They have only been Russell Wilson has only been one and done one time, and that was against the Dallas Cowboys back in the 2018 playoffs, which the Seahawks were wild cards, and they played at Dallas. So there's that right there. The Rams have had a tough time beating the Seahawks at CenturyLink Field, but I think the Rams have a good chance of winning tomorrow. It is going to be a 1 p.m. start game, 1 p.m. Pacific time start game. The Rams will have Cooper Kupp. Andrew Whitworth is slated to come back. However, the big question mark is who will start at quarterback between Jared Goff and John Wolford. Goff wants to come back, but if he is not 100%, they gotta give the start to John Wolford. But here's the thing about Jared Goff. He is a tough son of a gun. He may not be the greatest quarterback, but I will say this. He definitely is a tough, gritty man, and I'm sorry for that. Regardless, Jared Goff is a talented quarterback. He's not the greatest quarterback, but he's certainly not the worst. Regardless of who plays at quarterback for the Rams' defense is going to need to step up. Aaron Donald has to put pressure on Russell Wilson, and Jalen Ramsey has to do a great job of covering DK Metcalf. He's only allowed DK Metcalf to catch one ball while he was guarding him, so So I think Jalen Ramsey can limit DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett is also going to be someone that the Rams need to watch out for. Maybe put Troy Hill on him. Jordan Fuller is also going to be someone to watch for in terms of possibly putting pressure on Russell Wilson as well. Either way, the Rams really need to step their game up because even though the AFC is wide open, the NFC is wide open. The Seahawks have been here before. The Rams could also have Blake Bortles available, as he was just signed up onto the practice squad. He was actually originally on their practice squad until he was released and signed with the Broncos because of that whole little fiasco with Drew Lock and the other QBs. The Rams also have Bryce Perkins as their quarterback. He's a rookie quarterback from Virginia, which is cool, I guess, but I think they're going to either go with John Wolford or Jared Goff. Other than that, Cam Akers, I believe, is healthy. He played last week against the Cardinals. He only had 34 rushing yards on 21 attempts, which isn't good, but I think the thing about the Rams and their struggles is that they've at least gotten their struggles out of the way. That is kind of the good thing about the Rams and how they've lost. Do I think they're going to win? Of course. I actually have the Rams winning tomorrow. I have them winning, but it's going to be carried by on the backs of their defense. Aaron Donald, like I said, he needs to step up along with other defensive, just like all their other defensive players, such as Michael Bockers, Leonard Floyd. I don't know what I was saying about Jordan Fuller. I'm thinking of Leonard Floyd. Jordan Fuller, I think, is on the Bears, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, the Rams defense really needs to step up. Other than Darius Williams, could also be. Jordan Fuller is a safety. Why I think he played the same position as Aaron Donald. Regardless, the Rams defense really needs to step up. And I think they can do a number on Seattle's offense. I feel they can. And if they're able to beat Arizona, I know Arizona didn't have Kyler Murray a whole lot, but the fact that they slowed that team down in a do-or-die situation, well, not do-or-die, but possible win-or-go-home situation, I think the Rams can definitely get back on track and get back to their winning ways. I think they have what it takes. It's just all about if they could play a full 4 quarters. They have to play, and they have to play well on all 3 phases. They have to play good on special teams, offense, and defense. I'm not concerned about special teams because they unlike their other Los Angeles counterpart, they don't have too many special teams issues. Offensively, they can be a little iffy because Jared Goff and John Wolford are both Like John Wolford wasn't bad. Other than his first pass being an interception, John Wolford was actually pretty good if you ask me. So, but he's certainly no Russell Wilson, that's for sure. So overall, I think the Rams could win it. And to me, I think the Seahawks are too inconsistent on defense. And their offense is kind of shifted toward inconsistent as well. Because you look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks, everyone is saying, oh, the Seahawks look so much better defensively. They look pretty good. Well, consider this. They struggled against a 49ers team missing a majority of their starters. Yes, their win over the Rams was impressive, but their defense has only contained Washington, the Jets, the Giants, and the Eagles. And even against the Eagles, they put up 17, and their offense barely put up 23. Against the Giants, the Seahawks only put up 12 against the Giants, and the Giants' defense hasn't been all that great. the Jets is the Jets. Like, there's no better way to put it. Like, no one cares if your defense held the Jets to only 3 points. Like, if the Jets get any points at all, then it kind of raises a couple eyebrows. And then Washington has offensive ineptitude with Alex Smith and their quarterback situation. And the fact that the Seahawks only put 20 on Washington, I know Washington has a good defense, but I'll also say this, like, if the Seahawks are really good as they are advertised offensively, they would be putting up way more than 20 points against the Seahawks, 12 points against the Giants, and 23 points against the Eagles. They should be putting up like almost in the high 20s or the 30s on some of these teams. Like, that's not a highly offensive touted team. Regardless, I think this is going to be a great wild card game. There are going to be 6 wild card games this weekend, and 3 are going to be aired on Saturday, 3 are going to be aired on Sunday. I wish the Rams-Seahawks game was going to be aired on Sunday, because that would give Jared Goff a little bit more time to have his thumb heal up. But I think no matter who's at center for the Rams, I think the Rams get the job done courtesy of their defense. I have the Rams winning 20-17. I think Matt Gay hits the go-ahead field goal, and the Seahawks come up short because Aaron Donald pressured him a lot, and as well as Jordan Fuller, Leonard Floyd, Jalen Ramsey, Troy Hill, etc. So I have the Rams winning, and do I have them going far in the playoffs? That still remains to be seen, because I pretty much would see, unless, of course, the Bears pull off the big upset against the Saints, I pretty much see the Rams going. I pretty much have the Rams going no further than the divisional round. But again, crazier things have happened. Like, if that were to happen, let's say the Bears actually upset the Saints. The Bears would play the Packers in the divisional round, and then the Rams would most likely play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, unless, of course, Washington pulls off the win. If that case, that would be an upset, because Tampa Bay is miles better than the football team. But regardless, I think it's going to be a fun game between the Rams and the Seahawks. Nice little rivalry game. I have seen that happen before with 2 divisional foes facing one another. So I think it's going to be fun. But I got the Rams winning, and I know better not to pick against the Rams, because I picked the Rams to lose last week against Arizona, and I am eating crow. So yeah, that's my bad, my bad, Rams. But regardless, I have the Rams winning, and that's that. So that's going to do it for the NFL portion of the show, and that's going to do it for the show in general. Before we get on out of here, before we dip like a banana in chocolate, no set point. That's not tonight. I definitely do got to make note of the sponsor one more time. We have our IE Sports Radio's sponsor is Legacy Financial. 2020 has been a tough year, and it looks like 2021 is shaping up to be a tough year as well. However, staying positive, keeping your faith, and continuing to work hard is the goal. If you're ever in a financial struggle at the moment and you need help, call 951-732-0130 or 510-928-2104 to book your appointment today. Andrew and Io are just 2 people on a mission to help families build a legacy. You can follow Legacy Financial on Twitter at Legacy_Uncut, and you can follow them on Instagram at SimsUncut. Once again, Legacy Financial is the sponsor of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And you could also follow IE Sports Radio as a whole on social media, on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow them at IE Sports Radio, and you could like them on Facebook and follow them on Facebook and subscribe to them on YouTube. And definitely you could follow them on Apple Podcasts, and definitely, if you can, leave them a 5-star rating, because that would prove that they are working hard, and we are all just working hard to put out some great sports content. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show will be back next week, but this time it'll be at a different time. It'll be on at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and it's going to try to go the full 2 hours, because here's what's happening next week for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Obviously, it's going to be a 2-hour block. It's going to be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. because next Friday we have a new show coming on. It's called Run DMV Sports. It's basically a sports show regarding the DMV, and it's going to be hosted by Scott Scholl, who is a very, very cool guy, very talented podcaster, and he is also a diehard Washington and Baltimore fan, and he is also, and it's called Run DMV Sports Talk with Scott Scholl. So definitely do check that show out next Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Also coming on in a little bit is our new show from iSports Radio. It's called the Sports Couple Perspectives, hosted by Larry B. and his wonderful girlfriend Cecilia. It comes on in about 19 minutes after my show. That show is actually going to be on at 7 p.m. permanently. 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time, so definitely do tune into that show. As for this show, like I said, it'll be on at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and it'll go till 6 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. So once again, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show will be coming on at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely do tune into the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. That's going to be coming on next week. I'll be talking more about the Rams and their hopefully their win against the Seahawks, knock on wood. And then maybe I'll be talking about the Chargers, depending on if they hire their coach or not. And then also I'll be talking about more college basketball and maybe some college football news and whatnot. Maybe I'll recap a little of the college football playoff. We'll see. But on that note, it is time to get on out of here because it's past my supper time, and I also need to prepare for Larry B's show, The Sports Couple Perspectives. Let's do this! Thank you all once again for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Shout out to the chat room for chiming in with their comments. Marcus Losgrade, I see you, along with Andrew Hagenbaugh and Pierre Moss that jumped in the chat room as well. For those that were listening on the replay, I definitely appreciate it. For those listening live, I also appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. You can definitely check out iSports Radio shows on many various platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Spotify, even iHeartRadio. The list goes on and on. Tune in, etc., etc. You get the point. And we're even on StreamYard as well. We gotta get that fired up as well. And we're also on Mixler every now and then too. So regardless, thank you all for tuning in to tonight's show. In about 15 minutes, we have Larry B and Cecilia going on with the Sports Couple Perspectives. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourselves a great rest of the weekend. Like I said, be a nice person. It costs no money to be a kind person in the world. Be safe if you're in the middle of chaos and craziness. And I will see you Tuesday for Set Point. Have yourselves a great rest of the weekend. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal.